Glory to Jesus Christ. Today was the clergy retreat on prison ministry held at St. Stephen's Cathedral in Philadelphia, and I'm obviously not clergy, but I was invited to attend by my priest who comes into the prison with us. And so I was the only, one of two women there, but I was the only one who actually goes into the prisons. And also one of our friends from the Catholic Church, who actually has been doing prison ministry since 1991, was there, which was phenomenal because he's more experienced than the rest of us put together. And also my friend from St. Mark's who comes in with us. I've got to find out from these people if I can use names or something, or I should just use pseudonyms for people because I hate being that vague. It's confusing, but whatever. Anyway, so we met for about 3 hours, and the first presentation was by John Wenzel, who is in charge of all of the prisons in Pennsylvania. And he's a former corrections officer, prison guard, who then was a warden, and now he's like the big cheese. He's also Orthodox. So that was really neat to be able to just hear about his path to Orthodoxy and also the role that he believes, as we do, that Orthodoxy can play in the prisons and trying to help people, you know, not just stop committing crimes, but fill the hole in their heart that leads to that kind of criminal behavior. So he was awesome. Very funny. So I'm just going to read a couple of figures from my notes because he said some horrifying statistics. And this is all Pennsylvania statistics, but you know, we have criminal justice problems throughout the country, so I'm sure that it applies in many other places as well. He said, the state of Pennsylvania spends more money on corrections than we do on higher education. 20% of the state budget goes to corrections. We have 26 prisons and many more halfway houses. 1 in 200 adults in PA are incarcerated in state prison. If you factor in people who are also in county jails, the figure becomes 1 in 100, so 1%. 1 in 64 black Pennsylvanian adults are currently incarcerated in state prison. 1 in 32 black males are incarcerated. And 1 in 15, think about that, 1 in 15 black males aged 18 to 24. And this is only state prisons, we're not even talking about the county jails. Imagine that. 1 in 15. 1 out of every 4 adults in Pennsylvania are connected to someone in prison, so they have a family member or a close friend who's incarcerated. We have 51,000 state prison inmates in PA and over 40,000 more in county jails. Every year, 20,000 people enter the criminal justice system and 20,000 are released. Those who take part, this is state inmates, those who take part in educational programs and vocational training are 43% less likely to recidivize and be re-incarcerated. That was encouraging. So essentially, he just had a couple suggestions, and then we also got to hear from the directors of the Orthodox Christian Prison Ministry, which is OCPM. It's a national organization, pan-Orthodox, that equips clergy and lay people to, you know, bring the gospel into the prisons. So just a couple things. This is still Mr. Wenzel talking. He said, you know, in the American medical system, we demand results. We demand positive outcomes. And if positive outcomes are not happening, we have to look and see why. Research why, research what we can do to improve, and then implement improvements. And he said that in our criminal justice system, we need to have a similar attitude. We have a right to expect good results, which does not just mean releasing people into the community. It means releasing them, and hopefully they don't go back to jail. he said that research indicates in the criminal justice system, things are not working. Okay? Things are not working. Yeah, we might be, by the numbers, releasing people, but they're going to be back in 6 months or a year anyway. Because nothing has really changed. They might be sleeping in a different place now, but the mindset is still the same. So he said the research indicates things have to change, but we need to have the courage to actually implement those changes and to admit that the system is broken and to admit that the system needs help. And also to implement those changes. That takes courage because a lot of people here, your average Joe, frequently will say things like, oh, well, you know, they ought to make a law about that. They ought to throw them in jail, blah, blah, blah. Throw them in jail, throw away the key. No. No. Because we like to delude ourselves into thinking that locking people up keeps society safe. Okay, that's crap. Just locking somebody up for 10, 20, 30 years doesn't necessarily change anything. Not in their heart, and not even in society, because, yeah, we might have them incarcerated, okay? But what are they doing while they're incarcerated? Are they contributing in any meaningful way to anyone's life? What about their children? Over 50% of our inmates have kids. Are they just rotting in a jail cell? See, with our most violent inmates, you know, there are some people who really need to be put away for life, because they're dangerous. They're dangerous to you and me and everyone else. But the majority of offenders are not. And so what Mr. Wenzel was saying was, our incarceration system works well at keeping, for example, serial killers locked away from the rest of us. But it does not do well by low and medium threat inmates. Because when they are eventually released, they're worse than they were when they went in there, because now they have this criminal network. You know, you make friends in prison. You have to survive. And so they may get locked up for 10 years for, you know, robbing a convenience store. But when they come out, they're in a gang and they start committing murders, for example. And he was very quick to say, too, he goes, look, I'm not saying that we should just open the doors and let everyone out. I'm not saying that. But we have to say, well, what are these guys doing when we incarcerate them? What kind of change is possible? What kind of programs are available? What kind of outreach? What kind of positive influences are there? Because interviewing people who have been released into the community and then have not recidivized, there's one difference between them and those who are released but then they wind up back in jail. And the one difference is, it's not education, believe it or not. It's not even, you know, one of them had an abusive childhood, one of them didn't. It's not even one of them was a drug addict and one of them wasn't. These are all good guesses. But what it is the people who are released from prison